Reader beware, you're in for a couple of scares. We're talking about Goosebumps Triple Header, the first story in this book, which is Ghost Granny.
Viewer beware, you're in for a scare. Goosebumps.
How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Hello and welcome to or welcome back to Mystery Inc. My name is Richie, and like I said in the intro here, we are checking out Triple Header. If you're not familiar with Triple Header, this was the first of only two books. It was supposed to be a longer series, but only two books were printed. Each of these two books contain three 50-page short stories, and the setup for these is introduced kind of like in Slappy World by our three characters here. I don't know how well you can see this on the screen, but we've got Lefty, Righty, and Slim, which is a three-headed Goosebumps monster here. Yes, we get kind of a comical intro to each story. Then we get our 50-page short story, and that's about it. Like I said, there's three stories in each of these two triple header books. Today we're talking about the first story in book one, which is called Ghost Granny. I'm going to cover each story individually in separate videos, but first of all, when did this book come out relative to the rest of Goosebumps? Based on the front cover here, everything in the original series is mentioned up to book 61, I Live in Your Basement, so this would have come out right before Monster Blood 4, so right at the end of the original series. I believe the second book released, I think it was after I Am Your Evil Twin in Series 2000, so pretty early on in Series 2000. Then the third book ended up getting canceled along with, the back half of the Series 2000 run because of the legal issues between Stein and Scholastic at the time. So, Ghost Granny. So this follows our main character. What was her name? Kelly, her brother Jeff, and their parents. And then there is Granny Deaver, I think was her name. And she's not actually the kid's grandmother. She is a friend of their grandmother's sister. So she ends up coming to live with the family one day for a visit, and then ends up staying for several years. She's very obnoxious, very rude. She loves to aggressively pinch the children, the very annoying things that some older people stereotypically do or did back then. And she's also very nasty. She's always complaining. She loves to eat. She steal food off of the kids' plates and eat it or give it to her cat. What was the cat's name? Sammy. I had referred to him. Yeah, Sammy, her cat, which was mentioned right at the beginning of the story and then not brought back up. Anyway, the story starts out with her getting introduced by Kelly being this nasty old lady that is just always intruding on everything, being a grump and always complaining about the food, even though she's always eating and taking food from the kids and stuff like that. And she ends up dying right at the beginning of the story. They have the funeral, and then lo and behold, she shows up the next day as a ghost, moving back into the house. And this is quite a bit different than a lot of other Goosebumps stories, relating to things like this, because it's not just the kids, the parents also see her right away. And so the whole family is being harassed by this ghost as she is just, continuing her obnoxious ways, but now intruding on people's privacy, like floating through the door and stuff like that, keeping them up all night howling. And all the while she's getting grosser and grosser. Her form is starting to decay, presumably along with her body in the graveyard. She talks about, the other ghosts she met in the graveyard and stuff like that. And basically, the story progresses and just things keep getting more and more out of hand with Kelly's birthday party and her scaring her friends and things like that until kind of the culmination of the story. Basically, the whole time, all 50 pages, the family is just trying to figure out how to get rid of Granny Deaver. And then we have, the resolution of the story and the surprise twist at the end, which were both fine. I would say overall, I've been trying to figure out how exactly to rank these short stories because obviously, we don't get a fully developed story. We don't get fully developed characters here. And I'm not going to go into my like full detailed star ranking like I do with the regular books and stuff that I read. So we're just going to give it, a score out of 5. And since this is the first Stein short story I've read, I will say I thought the characters were pretty good. I thought that the premise and the setup were fairly decent. We had some genuinely creepy and like disgusting moments with Granny Deaver, um, and how she's visualized, and some just genuinely frightening things that happen with her and her interactions with the family. I will say, while there are some scary moments relating to the character, the overall tone of the story wasn't that scary, I would say. It was kind of more bothersome and annoying, so the resolution to the story was okay. I think it could have been better. Stein could have come up with something better, I think. And then the surprise twist at the end, I did not see coming. It was pretty good, but again, the stakes weren't necessarily super high, in my opinion, based on kind of how things sort of resolved. So I would give this one, again, without having any other Stein short stories to compare it to, because I haven't read any others yet. I'm going to be reading a bunch more later this year, but um, just going off of just this one by itself, comparing this with like regular Goosebumps books and stuff, I'd say I'd probably give it a 3.5, maybe a 4 star. We'll see how I feel after I read the next two in here, and some of the other ones later in this year, whether it deserves to be a 3 or a 4 or somewhere in that range. For now, I'm going to say 3.5. We're just going to go 3.5, and I will adjust that score in the future if I need to. But yeah, overall, I would say it was fine. We'll see how the other two stories go in this one, and then we'll give the overall book a rating after we do the third story. I'm probably going to do one of these stories a week, maybe more condensed, just depending on how things fit in with my other reviews. But that's it for today, guys. Let me know if you've read Triple Header. What do you think about this specific story? What are your favorite R.L. Stein short stories? I know I've had a couple people mention a few on other book reviews that I've done, and I can't remember exactly what they were, but let me know what your favorites are. I will say, obviously, we're going to be finishing the other two stories in this book throughout the month of July. And then I have something fun planned for October, which I'm probably not going to go into yet, but it's going to have to do with Give Yourself Goosebumps. Or, sorry, not Give Yourself Goosebumps. Tales to Give You Goosebumps and Stein Tinglers. But we'll talk more about that when we get a little closer to October. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. We will catch you next time, probably for a regular book review, and then sometime next week for the next triple header story. God bless you. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you next time. Have a great day.